start with Daryl sharing all of his knowledge, and then we'll switch gears and I'll come on to play. We've also got Dina watching virtually, and maybe a couple more people hopping on virtually as well.
Hi, Dina, and hi, others.
Feel free to take notes and get up and stretch if you need to.
Okay. So, we're going to take a moment to begin because there's nothing more powerful than the mind when it comes to healing anything. You're familiar with placebo and nocebo, so nothing is more powerful than your state of mind. So we're going to start with an internalization. We're going to prepare our minds to receive information. So please bring your hands to Namaste position. For my friends online, you can follow along. Please close your eyes and take a deep inhale, slow and steady. Pause at the top. Take a nice deep exhale. Inhale again, nice and slow. Exhale, nice and slow. One more time. Inhale. Biggest, longest one. Pause. Exhale. Slow. Keep your eyes closed. Continue to breathe. Take this moment to give gratitude for the opportunity to learn these beautiful sciences of yoga and Ayurveda and prepare ourselves to receive what they have to offer. Prakati Yoga Satatanushakta Asheshakai Prasrutanasheshan Aksukyamohartitam Jakhana Yo Purva Vaidyayana Namostu Tasmai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, open your eyes and let's get started. So I have notes for you guys. I have a whole overview of what I'm going to talk about today. And I did that because I want to invite you to not take notes while I speak. We're going to go through several stuff and we're going to talk about Ayurveda. I'm going to throw some words at you that you may or may not have heard before. And you don't necessarily have to remember it. The goal is just to listen and forget. It's not a quiz. So we're just going to go through this journey together and have a good time. So we'll start at the beginning. What is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is known as the sister science of yoga. Ayurveda is a tool. Ayurveda is a tool for empowerment. Ayurveda is the opportunity to learn and identify your unique body and how that unique body interacts with and operates, how you interact with the world, how you interact with the foods that you eat, the actions that you take, and the people around you. So Ayurveda includes everything that you might imagine with natural medicine, like herbology, or food, or yoga, and meditation. However, Ayurveda also includes surgery, drugs, toxicology, aphrodisiacs. Ayurveda is a fully complete, comprehensive comprehensive medical system. In India, you go to medical school and you receive what's called a bachelor's of Ayurvedic medicine and surgery. So it is everything, anything that has to do with your healing, anything that has to do with health, longevity, and medicine falls into the scope of Ayurveda. So it is complete. And it is also over 5,000 years old, which is kind of really what makes it so powerful, is that you get the product of a time-tested methodology. And so you get that ancient wisdom, that our ancestors had, but there's no reason to give up modern technology and allopathic medicine, because those things are incredible, and they have so much to share with us. So really, it's weaving it together is the name of the game, and that's really what gives us the opportunity to kind of take control of our health and become our own doctors, and not necessarily have to wait until we, go to the doctor and are diagnosed with some sort of disease. We can prevent that from happening before it goes off. Any questions? No? Okay, great. If at any point in time you have a question, you are more than welcome to just pop your hand up and, interrupt me. That's just fine. And in fact, I welcome that. I really appreciate questions. Questions are really helpful. If you have a question, odds are somebody else has a question as well. That same question. Hey, online people, I can see you now. Hi, welcome. All right, so we're going to talk about a little bit about how Ayurveda works, just the foundations. We're going to talk a little bit about IBS. I know, like SIBO, leaky gut, there's a lot of digestive issues and there's a lot of names for them. But for simplicity's sake, I'll probably just refer to it as IBS. And we're going to talk about some irritating and causative factors for such digestive issues. And then we're going to talk about some things you can do that will alleviate and ameliorate symptoms that you encounter. So here are the basics of Ayurveda. These are the fundamental principles that govern the science. And they are this, is that your body can be divided into 3 physiological categories. So there are 3 categories of function. And now we use Sanskrit words because they don't have English translations. Sanskrit is a very old language, and so all of those old languages that are 5,000 and 10,000 years old, they almost speak in metaphor, or they refer to multiple layers of existence at the same time, and so it's very difficult to have exact English translations. And so really the easiest thing to do is just maintain the words that are used in Sanskrit. And so these 3 categories are Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. So Kapha dosha is the principle of binding. It's the principle of lubrication. It's the reason that your muscle tissue sticks to itself. It's the reason that your bone tissue, nerve tissue, fat tissue, it's the reason that everything sticks to itself. It's the reason that your liver cells know to stay where your liver is because of Kapha dosha. It is the principle that governs the binding of things and the lubrication of things. And so all of these principles are energetic principles. And so the next principle is Pitta, which is the principle of transformation. And so anything that is transformed from one thing into another thing is governed by Pitta dosha in your body. So when you eat food, that food is transformed into nutrients, and then those nutrients are transformed into micronutrients for your cells, and then your cells are able to take that to your muscles, where they'll transform your immature tissue into mature tissue. Same thing happens in your brain, actually, with all of your sensory impressions, whether it's something that you see, smell, taste. All of those are sensory impressions that have to be transformed into understanding. You're looking at me now, but what you're really getting is an image of me plastered onto your eyeball, and then your eyeball takes that image, sends it to your brain, and then your brain transforms that into understanding. And so all of that is the principle of transformation, which is Pitta dosha. And so what I mean when I say that these principles are energies behind them, right? And so you have digestive enzymes. And so digestive enzymes are the physical manifestation of Pitta dosha. Just like electricity is what runs through a battery, these are the energies that run through you to invigorate your physical body. The last one is Vata dosha, which is the principle of movement. So everything that has to do with movement in your body, whether it's inhalation, exhalation, whether it's your blood flow, whether it's your lymphatic flow, whether it's your eye movement, whether it's your muscle movement, anything that is movement, cell movement, all of it is governed by Vata dosha. And so these three principles come together to create you. Your body is an accumulation of these three principles. And now we're all made up of different variations of these principles. So you might have more Vata dosha and a medium amount of Pitta dosha and a small amount of Kapha dosha, whereas you might be the opposite. You might have more Kapha, medium Pitta, low Vata. And so the variations are endless, which is what makes you a specific, unique version of who you are. Just like your fingerprint, no one is ever going to have your exact body. And so the reason that this is so powerful is essentially the paradigm for healing in Ayurveda is that you're born with what is called your prakriti, which is your nature, which is your genetic constitution. And it's that constitution which you could consider your balancing point, your equilibrium point, or maybe your homeostasis. And so it's within that homeostasis that healing occurs, that your body acts the way that you want it to. That's when you feel energetic and alive and thriving and abundant. That's when all of your systems are working properly. That's when you're good to go. Whereas when you fall away from that natural balancing point, you fall into disorder and you fall into disease. So really, it's all about identifying your unique constitution, identifying where you stand today, how you differed from that unique constitution or that balancing point, and then taking the protocol to bring you back to that center, where at that point your body will naturally heal itself, as it typically does if you cut yourself or anything like that. So that's essentially Ayurveda in a nutshell. Questions?
I have a question.
Please.
So a friend of mine is into holistic health in that field, and she shared a test with me, and I did this 3 years ago, and it was online, and you just had to answer a series of questions, and all three of mine were in equality, like I was completely balanced. I have no idea if that was a valid test. I probably wouldn't be there today, and that's why I'm here this morning. Are those tests, is there like a test or questionnaire that you can take to know?
Yeah, certainly.
Right?
Yeah, so the
in homeostasis, like, or just to learn where you are.
absolutely, yeah. So the question, I'm going to repeat it just in case the people online can't hear you, is essentially the validity of online what are called dosha quizzes or testing your constitution quizzes. And so the truth is it depends. It depends on how good the test is. It depends on how accurately you're answering the questions, which is very difficult. And so generally speaking, there's a good chance that they'll lead you in the right direction. I mean, they'll probably give you a cue or a tip as to where you stand, and they may even get it right, but they may also get it wrong. And so what you want is to have an Ayurvedic consultation. Without a doubt, you want to meet with an Ayurvedic practitioner, and they can assess you and verify what you think, and tell you your prakriti, which is your genetic constitution, as well as what's called your vikriti, which is your current condition. And so, I was actually going to do this later, but I really want to emphasize the importance of getting a consultation. They are really powerful. They will help you to raise your awareness and understanding of your current condition and constitution. And they'll also give you, nice guidance and like understanding as far as like where the direction that you want to move, where you want to go, and also like first steps, like what is the appropriate like regimen for getting there. So consultations are really powerful. People that you can get them from here in Indianapolis. You can take them with me. There's also a couple others. A woman, Daria McKenzie, is awesome. Helen, I know quite as well. She's also awesome. And there's a man named Pavilion who doesn't live here anymore, but he does take them online. For my friends online, I don't know if you're in Indianapolis or not, but wherever you are, you can go to AyurvedaNAMA.com, which stands for the Ayurvedic National, or the National Ayurvedic Medical Association. And on their website, you can search for Ayurvedic practitioners near me, and you can find who is authorized through them and contact them and set up a consultation. And so typically consultations are $150-ish. They might be 100, they might be 200, but they are worth it. If you've never had one, get one, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for your question. Online people, you're welcome. I think we can we hear them? Yes,
They
maybe.
unmute themselves.
If you unmute yourselves, you're welcome to ask a question as well. Just to let you know. Okay. Let's talk about irritable bowel syndrome a little bit. Irritable bowel syndrome is disease classification. Disease classification based on the symptoms of what occurs. It's the symptomological effects of what seems to be digestive dysfunction. Currently, your doctors will tell you that irritable bowel syndrome has no cure and that the causes are unknown. And so, I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to talk about something called Padvashaya Kupita Dosha. I'm going to say it again slowly, and I want you to repeat it after me. Pak, Va, Shaya.
Shaya.
So it's like P-U-K, Pak, Va, Shaya, Ku, Pita, Dosha. Pak, Va, Shaya, Kupita, Dosha. Pak, Va, Shaya, Kupita, Dosha. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good work. Okay, so here's what it is. Pakvashaya Kupita Dota. I'm sorry. Pakvashaya Kupita Dota. It's a tongue twister. Yeah, I didn't plan on it, but apparently it is. Pakvashaya Kupita Dosha. According to Ayurveda, this is the disease that you have. It's a disease of the colon. It's a disease of Vata pushing Pitta or Pitta pushing Vata. And Vata has etiological causes and etiological factors, but it also has a proper healing regimen and healing protocol. And so there's very much a lot that you can do about the situation that you have. Now, let's talk about a lot of factors. There's a lot that goes into it. You probably know and emotional factors play a big role in digestive health.
Breaking up a lot. You're breaking.
90% of your stuff is.
You're breaking up a lot. You're really breaking up a lot. Those of us on Zoom, there's a lot of background noise, like people are shuffling chairs, and then you're breaking up a lot. We really can't. Your voice keeps breaking up on the microphone Zoom.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Dina says if virtual participants can turn off their cameras, it helps with the bandwidth.
Hmm.
We can give that a try.
Sure.
I think the building's just super creaky.
Yeah, we are in a creaky building. Sorry, nobody's moving in here, but yeah, the building's making noise. We'll also just bring this a little bit closer and see if that helps with the sound. So you can still see me. How is that for the sound? Is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Good. Please let me know. if something goes wrong again. Thank you for saying something.
Yes.
Great. So, okay. Etiological factors of Bowspring. We're talking about stress, emotional factors. 90% of your stress is digested in your gut. 90% of serotonin is created in your gut. There's all this modern new science about the gut brain, how calling the stomach the second brain, and all that stuff. For the record, Ayurveda talks about this thousands of years ago. This is not news to Ayurveda. We're very familiar with this. But it's really powerful. It's really powerful information because it's great because it's a two-way street. Your gut can affect your mind negatively or positively, and vice versa. Your mind can affect your gut negatively or positively. And so, you can take steps to increase or to make that flow positive. And instead of having things cycle downward, you can make changes and have them cycle upwards, where slowly your symptoms will decrease and your digestion will improve. And so that's really good to know. Mental plays a big role as well. A lot of times, depression, anxiety, feeling stress, lethargy, lack of drive and motivation, a lot of this goes hand in hand with people who suffer from Pakvasha Pitta dosha. And that's normal, and that's common. There is very much something that we can do about that. Also, I want to talk about symptomatology a little bit. Aside from the mental aspect, you have a lot of people suffer from constipation, gas, bloating, maybe diarrhea, maybe irritable digestion or irregular digestion or lack of digestion. There's a lot of different symptoms that happen with this disease. And the reason that you get different symptoms is because your body is different, because you are made of different things than what you are made of. And so even though it's the same origin of dysfunction, which is your digestion system, the symptoms manifest differently because your body is different. And so this makes perfect sense according to Ayurveda, right? Because your body is different. And so because of that, the healing protocol for each of you is different, which is why the consultation is so important, because literally, your exact perfect healing protocol might further aggravate your disease. And so it's, sure, there's a good chance you'll find similarities because we were all struggling from digestive health, but, the specifics are specific, and they do come in detail, and they're tailored specifically to you. And so that really matters. Okay. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Please.
Does Ayurvedic, I always call it medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, speak to anything regarding something as strange as a spontaneous intestine twist? I experienced it 7 years ago and had emergency surgery. Kind of had some issues ever since then, but several things also happened, like menopause and so hormonal changes. I know affects the gut, but what does Ayurveda say? I did a ton of research on it. It's seemingly, according to the research I did, extremely rare and random, and there is no known set of specific reasons that it happens to the people it happens to. And oddly enough, they say there's no real genetic familial connection. However, a year and a half after that, my maternal auntie had the same exact thing happen in exactly the same place. So I thought that was really strange. What does Ayurveda say, if anything, about that type of situation?
So, that's a very specific and rare situation. Absolutely, you need a consultation.
Well, I'm planning on doing that.
Good.
Yeah.
With an Ayurvedic doctor. The more complicated you get, the more experienced practitioner you want to find.
And I work with what would she be called? Restorative medicine. Oh my gosh. She's not just a general MD, a functional medicine doc. So
Okay.
I'm actually working with her as well, but I think a multi-pronged approach with it, Ayurveda would be very helpful, so.
Certainly, certainly. Yeah, I
I
mean,
just
it's,
wondered if in general Ayurveda talks about things like
yes.
that. Okay, and I don't want to derail.
No, it's okay. You know, just generally speaking, Ayurveda talks about everything. Literally every disease is classified in Ayurveda, as well as what is called the Samprapti, which is the 6 stages of disease, starting from the etiological factors, which is the cause of the disease, all the way through the accumulation, how it spreads, how it manifests, and how it recycles in your body. Each and every disease has that in Ayurveda. And so what you described has a name. I don't know what it is, but somebody does. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay. I'm going to talk about what's going on here real quick. The condition, acid, bile, and skin. When I say skin, I mean the intestinal skin, your stomach lining, your intestinal lining, your GI tract lining. Acid is your stomach acid, and bile is the bile produced by your digestive system. This is a functional and conceptual understanding of what's going on, but it can be pretty helpful. So your intestinal skin is essentially the container. It's the container that your digestion is occurring in. And acid and bile is the solution. It's what's inside of the container. And that solution, this little container, is the planet for your microbes. That is your microbiome. That is where they live. And that is their environment. And so normally, your stomach secretes acid to break down your food and kill unwanted bacteria. Your stomach lining and intestinal lining has a mucosal lining that protects it from that acid. The bile is created, which serves as essentially your buffering, balancing agent for the acid. It's alkaline, and so when the acid and the bile come together, you get what is the proper pH balance in your body. And that proper balance, again, is your microbes being happy. That's them living where they want to live, and therefore do what they want to do. The bugs that help you with proper digestion. And so when that environment gets thrown off, the bad bugs come in. The good bugs can't live there as they want to, and they can't do what they want to, and the bad bugs can't. And so that's how things slowly start to degenerate. And now there's lots of things that can throw off this balance. It's a pretty sensitive balance. Apparently, 74% of Americans report that they have some sort of digestive discomfort. So this is very much a cultural issue. And our modern lifestyles are not doing us many favors. Certainly, lack of movement hurts. All of the systems in our body are essentially turned on when we're walking, when we're running, when we're being active, when we're doing stuff. And so that can be a factor, as well as the foods. Processed, refined foods are difficult to digest. Oils that we consume are also difficult to digest. Turns out our ancestors, so there's omega-3s, which you've heard of, which are like the good fats, and then there's omega-6s, which are like not as good, especially in the ratio that we have them. So our ancestors had them in a ratio of 1-to-1. They had the same amount of omega-3s that they do omega-6s. We currently, as a society, have a 1-to-20 ratio. We have 20 omega-6s for every 1 omega-3. And so, yeah, we're just getting a lot of processed oils, we're getting a lot of processed foods, we're getting a lot of refined sugars. And these things are really taxing on the digestive system in general. And so that's a big factor as well. So that kind of gives you, really, that's how it works. Any one of those pillars can be disrupted. Like a common thing that happens is because of like the congestion, bile will get blocked up. So your liver is what creates the bile, and goes to the gallbladder and then eventually goes through. But a lot of times that can get blocked. Once that gets blocked, then that bile becomes bile sludge, and then the environment is off. And there's too much acid. There's not enough bile, and then sometimes either the food can get burned, or it won't kill the bacteria that you want it to, or the skin can get burned. And when that happens, then your body, tries to compensate and does do you a favor and says, well, I'll just create less stomach acid. But now that there's less acid, you're not you're not digesting your food properly, and there's also not enough acid to maintain the proper environment to keep the microbes that you want there and to keep the microbes that you don't want out. And so this balance is delicate. Any one of these pillars, that also explains why there's just so many variations in the symptoms and so many variations in the causes. But that's essentially it. It's maintaining that balance that is the key to restoring your digestive health. And there's certainly ways that we can do that. If there are any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, we're going to talk about things that you can do. Online people, you can hear me well. Great. Okay. Stuff that you can do. We'll start with food. Before we even get into what you eat, how you eat and when you eat are two critical factors. There's a lot of conversation about what you should eat, and there's very little conversation about how you should eat and when you should eat. But really, how and when you eat can serve as a very critical missing piece of this digestive health puzzle. Your body runs on cycles, whether it's your menstrual cycle, whether it's your cell cycle, cell death, cell rebirth, your sleep cycle. I mean, literally 100% of your body's systems are cyclical. They run on the cycles, and your digestion is no exception. So in the same way, you might feel really good, getting in an exercise or a jog at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or something. If I wake you up at 1:30 in the morning and I make you go do that exercise, that's not going to feel very good, right? Exactly, yeah, because it's not time for that. And in the same way, if you go to bed at 10 and you wake up at 6, you're going to feel a whole lot better than if you go to bed at 3 and you wake up at 11. And so your digestion system falls into this category as well. There are times of the day where your body is much better prepared to digest food than other times. The best time of the day is noon. It's when the sun is at its zenith. And so the sun is at its peak, and so is your digestive fire. And so generally speaking, what can do you a lot of good is to eat lunch and make lunch your biggest meal of the day. There's a common misconception that breakfast should be your biggest meal of the day. Let that go. It's not true. Lunch is your biggest meal of the day. And have a light dinner. It's, again, culturally, we get busy around 5 or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, right? And so you eat a lot. And so, your best to kind of those, dedicate more to lunch, less for dinner. So that's about when you eat. Also, consistency is big for your digestion. In the same way, how we talked about, going to bed at 10 or going to bed at 3 in the morning, going to bed at 10 every day for 6 months is way different than if you just do that, for a week, and then the next week you go to bed at 3. And so that consistency sinks you into these rhythms, and the more that you sink into these rhythms, the more that your body gets going, and it just does what you want it to do. And again, your digestion is the same. And so if you can, stay somewhat stable and consistent with your meal times when you eat, that can have a lot of benefit for your digestive system. And now, it's not like, okay, I'm going to have breakfast at 8 o'clock, right? It's 7:58, like 2 minutes, I'm going to look at my breakfast and wait to eat. It's nothing like that. But it's an attempt to stabilize, because over time your body will learn that. The body adjusts, and so your body will start to prepare when it's time to eat, when it's time to digest, and that can be really helpful as well. Now, how you eat is maybe just as important. You've heard of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So there's the fight or flight, which is also, the active nervous system. That's the nervous system that you're using when you're executing, when you're planning, when you're thinking critically. And then your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. That's what you're doing when you're resting. You're digesting, your cells are repairing, your cells are restoring. Your system is attempting to restore itself back into balance. And so, yeah, that's the creaky building, sorry. And so the thing is, when you're eating, if you're doing something else, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system. If you're eating while you're driving, or eating while you're checking emails, or watching TV, or literally doing anything other than just eating, you're inhibiting your rest and digest nervous system from doing what it wants to do. And so, in the same way, evolutionarily speaking, when you're getting chased by a bear, you're not eating, like you're running. Like when you have things to do, you're not eating. And once you're done doing things, that's when you sit down and you eat. And so, put it simply, plain and simple, eat when you eat. Don't do other stuff, just eat. And those two tools are extremely powerful. I mean, do that consistently, implement that in your life, and you'll see some major changes. Your digestion will improve and your symptoms will go down. Okay. We talked about how you should eat, when you should eat. Let's talk about what is good to eat. So symptoms vary. Gas and constipation is, a pretty common one. And there are some things that are really good for constipation. Prune juice, number one. Prune juice is excellent at managing constipation. If you have constipation, get prune juice. Good fruits are bananas, cranberries, pomegranates, and raisins. Also milk, if you have access to real milk. There is something about bananas, though. The thing about bananas is that you want to eat bananas by themselves. You don't want to mix banana with other food. You don't even want to mix it with water. So an hour before you take a banana, don't eat or drink anything. And an hour after you eat a banana, don't eat or drink anything. Just eat a banana by itself. Right? Never heard of it. I know. Trust me. But that's pretty important. All right.
Wait,
So
why? Sorry. Why is it important?
why is that important? Do I know why that's important?
Because I've totally ruined my morning banana experience. I drank water and coffee.
Yeah.
And I ruined my banana walnut oat.
Sorry. Okay, so essentially what it has to do with is food compatibility. Incompatible food combining is a science that is also new, but is also thousands of years old in Ayurveda. And so essentially, foods have different qualities, and different qualities of food don't always interact well with other foods. And for whatever reason, bananas are selfish. They don't want to be friends with anything else that you eat. Yeah, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Carol, what were the other, I heard banana, I heard prunes. I eat solid prunes, not juice. I don't do any juice. And I heard bananas. What were the other fruits?
So cranberry and pomegranate.
You said cranberries?
Yes. Also for you, you'll get an email that has the notes that I'm going to give to the people here. So you will also get an overview, and it will have, like this information as well.
Okay.
Okay. Next thing we're going to talk about is khichdi. Who's heard of khichdi? Anybody else? No? Oh, that's exciting. Okay. Khichdi is a meal. It's a combination. It means 2 grains. So it's a combination of basmati rice and mung dal. And so basmati rice and mung dal each have their own list of benefits that you could go on and on with. But essentially, here's the power punch of khichdi. These 2 grains mix together to produce a super high protein, high nourishment, hot, wholesome food. It's extremely good for you. But the catch is that it's very easy to digest. Typically speaking with food, there's an inverse correlation between nutrient density and digestibility, right? It makes sense. The things that are the most nutrient dense are the hardest to digest, but not khichdi. Khichdi is very nourishing and very easy to digest. So, it's common. In fact, Ayurvedically speaking, it's recommended that babies, the first thing you give them is khichdi. When you're transitioning from milk to real food, khichdi is the first thing you give a baby. You give khichdi to people who are on mono fast, people, the elderly or the sick, or people who have digestive issues. Khichdi is just great stuff, and that's why. Another thing that is very good is ghee. Who's heard of ghee?
Me.
Samantha, you have? You have? All right, a few more hands of ghee. Great. So ghee, I call it the avocado of oils. Ghee is essentially, I mean, it's a fat lipid, but it hosts an amazing list of benefits. The number of ways that ghee is good for you is insane. You actually can't interact with ghee without it doing something beneficial for your health. You can put it in your eye. You can put it in your nose. I'm not kidding. You can put it in your ears. You can rub it on your skin. You can eat it. You can mix it with herbs. You can do anything with ghee, and 99% of the time, it's going to help you. Also, the thing that really makes ghee powerful, there's too many to count, so I get a little excited when I start talking about ghee. So ghee is an oil that increases the digestive fire. It's the only oil that does that. All other oils have a heavy and oily quality, and so your digestive fire goes down a little bit in order to digest that, because it's hard, but not ghee. Ghee increases the digestive fire, which is a really special component about oil. Also, ghee is super beneficial for that intestinal lining, for that GI tract. Ghee just gets in there and lubricates it so nicely, and your microbes love it. It's got the fiber too, so it just creates that perfect just ingestion highway for your stuff to do what it wants to do.
I have a quick question on that. So it's interesting because isn't dairy one of the most inflammatory foods we can consume, and oils as well? So ghee is kind of both.
Yeah. Okay, so one, that's a big question. That's a loaded question. Dairy comes in a lot of different forms. There's proper dairy, which is unpasteurized milk that is brought to a low boil, and then there's the stuff that you get at the store. I don't really classify that as dairy, and so we'll leave that where it lies. Also, ghee is actually dairy-free. So the way ghee is made is you boil butter until the lactose and the milk solids come down to the bottom. They separate, and then you remove the liquid from the lactose. Yeah. And so most people who are dairy intolerant still handle ghee just fine because there's no dairy left. Yeah. Also, we don't have much time left, so I'm gonna go through the rest of this and leave you on your way. The next thing I want to talk about is what I call the super 5-spice combo: ginger, cumin, coriander, cardamom, and fennel. And so these 5 spices, but alone, all of them are good for your digestive health. But for some reason, when you mix them together, they create something that is greater than the sum of its parts. This combination of spices has been used for thousands of years, and people have been cooking with it. And recent studies are showing why. Apparently, these 5 spices, when brought together, they essentially work with your cellular intelligence. They work with your digestive intelligence and increase your body's ability to create the digestive enzymes that you need to digest your food. And so, instead of taking like a digestive supplement, where you're ingesting the enzyme, which that works until that enzyme is gone, but that doesn't help your body to actually create them, which is what you need. And so these 5 spices do exactly that. So it's really powerful.
Quickly, is that included on the notes you're going to give us?
That is included on the notes I'm going to give you. Also, at the back of this room, there are those bags, those Whole Foods bags. In those bags are contents that you want. And so after, you're going to go to, I'm going to write Balance Alignment, which is the company that I started to share Ayurveda. And so you're going to go to that on your phone, and then you're going to click Ayurveda bag, and you're going to buy it, and then you're going to take one of those bags. For $30, it's 100% worth it. It should charge you like $100, but I'm not going to.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. Last thing I want to talk about is exercise. Activity is really helpful for digestion. Walking is the best form of exercise. Don't let anybody tell you different. But biking, swimming, yoga is fantastic, which I'm not going to talk about that because the lovely Samantha is going to tell you about that. Really, yeah, this movement, exercise is really helpful for the digestive system. A really nice ritual that you could get into is after you eat your meals, wait 15 minutes and then go for a walk. Do that for a long time, and again, that will help. You'll see your symptoms go down. You'll see your digestion improve. So thank you very much for coming. Seriously, thank you for investing your time and money and energy into this, because it's really powerful. I'm really glad that you're here. You're welcome. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Yeah. Also, unfortunately, I have to go. I'm teaching something else here at 10:30. So say that again.
Are we doing our phones now for that?
No, so you're going to do that after the workshop, but the notes are going to be there for you. Just pack it there, and also, so my contact info is in there. So you can get a hold of me. You can ask me whatever you want to, or whatever. You can schedule a consultation with me, anything you want to do. So
We're still.
goodbye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey.
Take it away, Samantha.
Can you guys all see me online? Can you get?
Yes,
Okay,
we
good.
can see you, Sam.
All right. Hey, Joyce here. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's so great to meet all of you. I know a lot of you already, actually. There's only one person I haven't met. She's been on her mom. I'm her mother-in-law. Thank you for coming. And thank you guys online too as well. So great to see you all. Let's all stand up for a second and get some moving and grooving going on. So get into the front part of your feet. So body weight is in your paw. Put a little bend in the knee and give yourself a little bounces. And let's do a seaweed sway. So sway your ribs side to side. Yeah, let your arms move the opposite direction that you're going, just moving the energy, moving around and sliding around like you are in the ocean. Seaweed swaying, seaweed swaying. All right, yeah, and then reach up, stretch your belly, hips back. And good, we can come back, nice stretch. You can come sit back down now. So raise your hand if you want to have your guts functioning properly. Yeah, everybody in here, whoa. Raise your hand if you want to have your guts functioning properly and you don't want to take a bunch of medicines that's gonna give you terrible side effects. Everybody in here too, wow. Okay. I'm in the same boat with you. Hi, I'm Samantha. I am a posture and yoga coach, and I help people get stronger and more flexible and have their bodies aligned and balanced so that they can feel better and have more confidence. And today I am going to share with you a little bit of what my experience. Is that okay? All right. So I have a really cool life. I get to do fun things like this, speaking in public, and I did a podcast the other day. I make videos and I work with really cool people. I get to move my body in fun ways like the seaweed sway with people all over the globe. No kidding. I did a Bowspring class with someone in Texas the other day. So, and I do it every week. I've traveled to do Bowspring with people all over the world, and it's just a great life. I get to help people change their lives by opening up and healing their bodies and feeling good about themselves. And it's really inspiring to me, but it was not always this way. Not that long ago, I was barely getting by financially. I hated the jobs I had. I couldn't keep a job for very long either, never. My relationships were all failing and I was sick all the time. So whatever came around, I got it. And I felt miserable all the time. And what's worse is that I developed such traumatic intestinal problems that at the very worst, I couldn't go to the bathroom for 2 years. And I'm talking number 2. Okay, so to go to the bathroom, I had to take an enema for 2 years. And this was hell. This was 100% hell. I didn't have a lot of friends at this time in my life because this is pretty much all I could think about and talk about. So anybody who was friends with me, this is what they got to hear about all the time. I was terrible to anybody because I felt so miserable. I had seen dozens of doctors. I had taken dozens and dozens of tests. Some of them were really invasive, and I didn't get any relief from that. They put me on a bunch of medications. Nothing worked. And I thought I was just gonna live like this. I was gonna have to live like this forever. And eventually I started getting even weirder symptoms, like my belly would blow up, like I was pregnant after just drinking a glass of water or maybe eating an apple. My intestinal lining had become so irritated from all that backup that anything was affecting me. I developed spots on my whole body. I looked like unfortunately, there were only places that didn't show. They were on my belly and my legs for a whole year, and they were big leopard spots. And dermatologists basically told me the cause of this is unknown. And I said, this is related to me not being able to poop. And they're like, no, that's not it. You touched something that you're allergic to. And you know, when you just know, and I just knew then, I was miserable, and I made everybody else in my life miserable, my family miserable, because I didn't feel good myself. Eventually I started getting on online forums and looking for people who had these same symptoms, and I was finding them. I was finding Facebook groups of people who were in the same boat as me. Anybody else ever look on Facebook threads or groups of other people who are suffering with the same thing? Yeah, no, I'm not the only one. And what I found in these groups was everybody was miserable and suffering, and it seemed like nobody had the answers. And I made a promise to myself that if I ever figured out the answer to this, that I would go back and share it, because I thought there's either two situations here. Nobody is getting better, or the people who are getting better are not coming back on these groups and sharing how they did it. So that is why I'm here today. That is why I am so passionately sharing this with you all. I'm going to share with you the things that I did that helped me out. And this is so important because your gut health is directly related to your mental health. And if you do not have mental health, you don't have anything. So I will get started here. Oh boy. Oh no. I think my computer froze up. Oh boy. This is wait. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's rolling. So how y'all feeling today? It says you can wait for them or exit pages. I'll exit and then start it over again. The bathroom's out the door and to your right. I think my computer just got tired. All my designs, natural healing for the gut. I'm gonna go presentation mode.
Daryl, are you in Indianapolis?
I am.
Wonderful. And your office is in Indianapolis?
Yes, well, I mean, I actually don't technically have an office.
Oh, is it just online? Like really consultation, like, because I really would like to have one. I think it would be the final prong in my, like, it's the missing piece.
Sorry,
I think there's not,
Zoom people.
it's like, you know how things just come together as they should be.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be here, and it's so funny, I was on Instagram before it started, and my friend in California was sharing how she started.
All right, we're ready to go.
Her daughter-in-law, who's Indian, is shared her 5 spice, and she didn't say what they are, it has to be that.
Can you help me?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not doing the same thing it did before. Got it. It's not there. Let's see. Here, we can go back to. This is what we did before. Present. Oh yeah, we're gonna take it to the left. Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Now we got it.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Daryl. All right. So here is where I get to share with you things that worked for me, and got to get going here because we've got so much information. So put on your brain thinking caps. Here we go. We're on a wild ride, and we're going to be going for the next. We're going to go fast forward. If you want to take notes, go ahead and do it. I highly encourage it because there's a lot of information. So what helped me? This is the healing recipe that helped me. These are the main things that helped me. So number one, a magnesium supplement. I started by taking a magnesium supplement at night before bed and in the morning when I woke up. Now, I'm at the point now where I only have to do this once in a while. Oh, Joy says that they do that too. So good thing about magnesium is it's electrolyte. So it's what your body needs already. And the magnesium helps calm your body, so it helps you relax. And it actually pulls water into your digestive system, so it helps move things along. And I religiously took this for about 2 years. Things are better now, so I don't have to do it as much. The next step is pelvic floor feeling and healing. So what this means to me is I initially started with a pelvic floor physical therapist who introduced me to my pelvic floor. She did internal and external work. If you want to learn more about internal pelvic floor work, then that's a story for a different day. And I also worked with Mayan abdominal massage therapist to work on my pelvic floor feeling and healing. The next was a morning ritual that I did every single day for 2 years. Now, I have got to the point where it's not so much anymore. This morning ritual consisted of drinking warm water. Sometimes I would put lemon in it or coconut water, lying supine position, performing a colon massage, and being mindful and calm and convincing myself to return to the parasympathetic mode, rest and digest. And I'll tell you how I did that in a little bit, but this was every single day, no stopping. This was essential to my healing, was this morning routine. Actually, through the worst of it, I did this as a bedtime routine as well. So I was doing it before bed and first thing in the morning. The next one is Bowspring. So when I discovered Bowspring, I started healing my abdomen and my pelvic floor, balancing the muscles enough that I didn't have to do the morning and night ritual anymore and the magnesium anymore. Now I just use them when I'm having a flare up. So Bowspring changed everything. So these are the tips, and I'm going to share with you other tips as well that I have learned along the way. All right, so one thing that is very important is balancing your musculature with the abdomen and the pelvic floor. So everybody has a pelvic floor. Here's a men's pelvic floor and a women's pelvic floor. So what can happen is when they're imbalanced, you can have muscles or tendons that are really, really tight. And when you have really, really tight ones, you always have ones that are really, really lax. So a lot of times we'll see people with a really, really strong and tight, just the front surface core muscles, but the deeper ones are lax. And so when you go to the bathroom, you're working against yourself and you're making things worse. You could get things that such as hernias, prolapse. Actually, I developed pelvic organ prolapse, and I've never even had a child before from working against myself, putting undue stress and pressure on the muscles that were too tight, and that really broke up the muscles that were too lax. So when your muscles aren't working in coordination, you can have all kinds of problems like diastasis recti, incontinence, constipation. And 4 tips to balance your muscles is consider your current exercises. So I was doing exercises at the time that was making my pelvic floor and my core muscles worse. I was really, really hard on cardio, doing a lot of crunches, doing really straight lined up yoga poses. And I knew in my heart, this is making things worse. But I was told, you got to exercise. Exercise is good for you. Running is good for you. So assess what exercises you are doing. The ones that don't feel right probably aren't right. Number 2 is assess yourself. So I do this when I work with clients on an individual basis. On the surface level, I'll give them a postural assessment and give them feedback into where in their body they are lax and where they're over tight. You could also see a pelvic floor physical therapist if you want to work on that yourself. And if you want to take it on your own, I encourage you to explore pelvic floor mapping. And this is a very up close and personal getting to know yourself. So you will massage this area down here and look for areas that feel numb and for areas that feel super tight. If you've never given yourself a massage in this area before, you might find there's areas that you didn't know you had were tight, and then areas you don't even feel you've disconnected with. And that can mean 2 things. That can mean it's super lax, or that can mean it is so tight that your brain didn't want to deal with it anymore. I found that there is a huge link, probably the biggest link between my gut health and the proper functioning of my pelvic floor and abdominal muscles. This makes more a difference in my life than anything I choose to eat. All right. So the last tip that will help you balance these muscles is Bowspring. Bowspring. All right. Okay. And we're going to get down on the floor now. So roll your mat out and we're going to practice I'm going to teach you the abdominal massage technique that saved me. So this is developed from my learning with pelvic floor physical therapist and with my abdominal massage techniques. And I sort of adapted it a little bit on my own. I'll teach you a colon massage today. So this is the one that I did at night and in the morning. And for all of you online, please lie on your back. And if you're here, yeah, use your coats, lie down.
I don't like it. I have another one in the car. You want one? Do you want to blame
We don't
it?
have-
I always blame it.
We don't have that much
Do you
time.
like it?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'll blame it on my
It's
daughter.
COVID-free.
She forgot.
Might be covered in brown hairs.
All right.
No COVID, I promise.
So the abdominal massage is going to stimulate the colon. So if you do have to go to the bathroom after this, the bathroom's over there. And of course, I'm going to let you know that if it doesn't work for you the first time, consistency is key. I had to do this for months and months and months before it started working. Okay, so every day before bed and first thing in the morning. So get into a comfortable position lying on your back. And then just breathe some softness in it. No matter what you do, you can give yourself abdominal massage all day long. If you are in a stressed body-mind frame, nothing's going to go anywhere. I'll repeat that one. You can massage yourself all day long, but if you are in a stressed body-mind frame, nothing is going to move the way it should. All right. We'll start with 2 hands, fingertips, at the upper left quadrant. And I'll point to it on here. This is the upper left quadrant on yourself, and I'll show it in my video. Yes. Upper left quadrant. And then we're going to make clockwise circles going down, both hands, clockwise circles going down the left side to the pubic bone. So starting at the upper left, right under your rib, going down to your left groin, and then going diagonal to your pubic bone. Slow clockwise circles.
Should we be pressing like pretty firmly or lightly?
Lightly is good. You can, I mean, you're not gonna hurt yourself if you go a little bit deeper. But you might hurt your fingers and you'll get exhausted because a good abdominal massage is gonna take more than 5 minutes. I would spend 15 minutes doing it. All right,
Is it important to go from the top down?
top down, go to the top, start the upper left quadrant. Upper left quadrant to the pubis, okay? Do that 5 times, so 5. So you're traveling, making clockwise circles. 1, and start up at the upper left quadrant again. 2, and then 3, 4, 5, okay? So let's imagine for time's sake that we've done that 5 times. Now we're gonna go to the upper right quadrant and we're gonna make an kind of an L shape. So we're gonna travel horizontally across our abdomen and then we'll do the line that we just did again. Clockwise circles. I don't know if I'm doing clockwise. And then we'll go down. 1. And you'll go slow when you do it on your own. I'm just showing you here so you know what to do. That's 2. And then you do that 5 times as well. So that pathway.
Samantha, I have a question. I find that my lower back feels better if my knees are slightly bent. Does that affect the effects of the massage?
No, actually, I do the massage in bed.
Okay.
I do it in bed. I try to get as cozy as possible when I'm doing this. So once you've made this traverse 5 times, then we're going to start in the lower right quadrant. Okay? Clockwise. This time your traverse is going to take a lot longer because you're going over the whole colon. And you'll see what we're doing here. We're massaging the large intestine. Okay?
And then come up and then over. Okay.
You're gonna get to know your belly so good. And Christian, I recommend doing it with your head on the floor because when you're lifting your head up, you're causing abdominal strain.
Yeah, and then also doing it in view of other people, that looks kind of weird.
Yeah, this is just a practice where when you're doing it at home, yeah. So, but that brings up a good thing. If you got your head up and you're scrunching your belly, you're going to be tensing the abdominal muscles, and you want to be as soft as possible when you're doing this. So you want to put some sweet music on and la-di-da-di-da-di-da. So while you all are practicing that, I'm going to share with you a couple other massage techniques. So there's the diaphragmatic massage, and that helps really calm our senses and our nerves. There's the lower belly massage, which if you're having problems with cramps, if you want to regulate your menstrual cycles, ask me about that. It made my menstrual cycles like clockwork when I did the lower abdominal massage. And then the last one is the pelvic floor massage, which sometimes it's hard to reach on yourself. So you can use like a tennis or a lacrosse ball, or it can be partner therapy with your friends. With your partner, I mean, or a very close friend, okay? Very close friend with it. Sammy today. Okay. All right. This is so important, but we do have to move along. So I'm gonna have to wake you up from your warm and cozy. You can stay on your mat if you want to, but I'm gonna continue the slideshow. Okay, this one is about Miss Persia's lesson. So this girl right here, she taught me how to get into a state of the parasympathetic mode. This girl right here, her name is Miss Persia. While I was going through this terrible time in my life, I was waking up at the crack of dawn to do this protocol And it was lonely. It was exhausting because I had to wake up 3 hours before I had to be anywhere to do this. And after I drank my water and did the abdominal massage, she would come and sit on my belly. And what I noticed is that she would get off of my belly if I moved it or stressed it in any way. So of course I wanted her to be on my belly. So I would have to meditate myself into calming my abdominal muscles. Now I was so tight in the abdomen from a lifetime of stress holding in the gut that that relaxing them was more of an exercise than tensing them. So I had to constantly focus on how to relax them so the cat would stay there. And eventually I noticed that when I could relax it, the cat was there. I started to hear bowel sounds. And I hadn't heard those in years. I would hear, and what that was is whenever I hear it now, I know that I'm going from fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, to rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system. So like I said earlier, if you are in fight or flight, you can do those abdominal massages all day long and they're not going to work. You got to soften, release, let go. However way works for you. So it might work with a cat, it might work with music, or it might work with cuddly pillows. So a happy morning ritual, room temperature or warm water, the colon massage, breathing through the nose, in and out through the nose will put you into parasympathetic. If you're breathing through mouth, you're going to go into sympathetic. Mindfulness and affirmations. All right, toileting tips 101. All right, I learned a lot of this from my pelvic floor physical therapist. This is why I gave you all the balloon. When you're sitting on the toilet, look, he's got here a little bench or stool, squatty potty. If you don't have one, get one, all right? I spent a lot of my time before I learned this hunched over and cramped up, and I was working against the muscles of the pelvic floor. I was hurting my pelvic floor that way. So sit up if you can, long belly, soft belly, all right? As far as pushing goes, so there's something called the Valsalva maneuver, and that is you use it if you're giving birth to a baby, or if you're really trying to bear down on something and go to the bathroom. Well, there is such thing as overdoing it, and I overdid it so much that I blew out my pelvic floor and have pelvic organ prolapse. Please take my advice. You don't want to do that. And so to reclaim my pelvic floor, my pelvic floor physical therapist taught me a method. So the balloon that I gave you has to do with that method. When you are stooling, and I had to train myself, I had to actually use the balloon in the bathroom with me, blow into the balloon, and you don't even have to blow it up all the way, but that's how much pressure should be going down. So you should not be bearing down like for dear life at any time. And when you do, you're going to have problems later on, right? So she said that's the kind of pushing you should do. So even when I don't have a balloon, I think about what kind of pressure I need to blow the balloon up. So take the balloon with you in your bathroom. That's my gift to you. All right. Bloating. Anybody here ever get bloated? Yeah. You wake up in the morning with a flat tummy and then you eat one thing and you blow up like you're pregnant. And this is no fun for anybody. Maybe it gets bigger and bigger as the day goes on. Well, I would encourage you to touch your belly all the time, get to know it a little bit more, and even tap around on it so you can feel sometimes where the gas is. It'll sound more like a drum, like an empty drum. And then there'll be other places where it feels full. And those are the places, when you're bloated, the places that sound like a drum, that's where the air is. And then the places that sound they're full, that's where fluid and swelling is. So a lot of times the bloating isn't just gas. A lot of times it's swelling. It's inflammation. So like the problem I was having you've got a leaky gut, your food contents are inflammation, and your whole system, you're gonna blow up, and it's gonna draw water into the tissues, and you have swelling in the abdomen. Sometimes we have to, but there's that will help with the bloating, not necessarily with swollen, feeding yourself and trying these in addition to it help. So first tip is breathing. Breathe through your nose all day long. I cannot tell you how the health changes that I experienced when I quit breathing through my mouth. Breathing slow and through the nose. When you're breathing through the mouth, you're unintentionally swallowing air, and a lot of times that air is going into your belly and giving you that bloat and gas. If you notice that you're a sigher, you just breathe through your mouth big time. So if you sigh a lot, stop doing that. I used to sigh a lot, and I don't anymore. It's not that hard, and my life is not worse because of it. No big deal. I don't sigh anymore. Chew your food. Number 2, chew your food. Digestion starts in the mouth. I realized when I was going through this journey, and also when I started to explore Ayurveda, that I don't chew my food. I take a couple bites and swallow it whole. So notice what you're doing with your food. I was having oatmeal with my boyfriend the other night, and I was watching him chew it all up, and I realized I just swallowed all of that. I didn't even chew it at all. I didn't even try to chew it. And oatmeal's a little bit easier to digest, but if I'm having a salad, that's no good for you. You are making it harder everywhere along the line. Chew your food until it liquefies, and this is still something that I still need to work on. Timing, Daryl talked about this too. Timing when you eat is so important, and I found that eating late is the worst thing. If I eat late, I might just wake up with a bloated belly. So quit eating after, say, 6, and then you're gonna feel so much better in the morning because you're gonna have all that time to digest. And that goes with Daryl says, biggest meal, lunch, light dinner. You're gonna be digesting and working on your elimination when you're sleeping. So you wanna give it an advantage, a head start. Resting after you eat. So if you have the advantage to do this, please, I recommend it. If you work at a place where you're on the clock, try to eat your meal and then save at least 5 minutes to rest alone in quiet. That is so important. If you have a place you could sneak away to, I recommend that as well. After I eat lunch, I try to plan some time where I get to lie down and just rest and digest. Fluids, stay hydrated, but don't drink your fluids with your meals. And this is an Ayurveda principle as well. Drink your fluids outside of meal time. The more you drink, you're diluting your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and you need that to digest. So save that to when you're not eating. And when you're drinking, drink room temperature water. You might want to mix it with some lemon water, or I cut my water with coconut water, because sometimes I feel even water is disturbing. It's uncomfortable for my system if I'm really being triggered. So I'll put like a 1/4 coconut water, and it gives me electrolytes to make me absorb that a little bit better. My number 6 tip to avoid bloating is it probably should be the number 1 tip. It's stay regular. Don't allow yourself to get constipated. So if you feel it coming on, if you're traveling, if you know something is going to trigger it, start your protocol right away and get on that, because if you're constipated, not regular, or if it's the other way around, you're going too much, that's going to contribute to the bloating as well. So stay regular. And the last thing is, I'm going to teach you some of these today, yoga postures and movements that really help me relieve gas. And I'm going to share with you today the best ones that do so. So good thing we are in a room together. You guys are lucky. Just let it go, guys. Just let it go. All right. Probiotics and enzymes. I didn't say much about this because it's kind of, the results are kind of up and down. It's personal for you. Now, of all the supplements, everything that I've tried, the only one I can really recommend is the magnesium. When it comes to probiotics and enzymes, I've never had any bad side effects, so I'll tell you about it. And I have occasionally had good side effects. So taking an enzyme, I've gotten the cheapest ones before and the most expensive ones before, and I've had both of them work, and neither one of them work. It just depends on what my flora what was going on in my flora at the time. And same with the probiotics. I've got the cheapest and the most expensive. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So it's a crapshoot. So it just depends what's going on in your gut flora at the time. And that changes. That's a moving thing. So have you given an antibiotic recently? Have you had a gut virus recently? So that can change your flora. And that could determine if it's going to work or not. Restrictive clothing. Here we've got, for you online, I'll see, have you ever seen somebody who has got their pants on really tight and then they've got like a big bulge over it? Yeah, and then they undo their, like you might have seen it, maybe someone in your family, and they still got the bulge in the same place. Still, what that is your fascia has adapted to the clothes you wear. So if this guy takes his pants off right now, it's not going to be equal. He's going to have that cut there still. And that is fascial adhesions. Your muscles and your fascia have adapted to that, your clothing. And that's going on right now with what you're wearing right now. So anything that is going to be around your waist is going to be restricting your motility, your gut motility. Your bra here. So if you've got any restrictions in your bra, if your bra is really tight, and I'm talking about sports bras too, if you can't breathe your lungs and your stretch your lungs out when you breathe, then your lungs will get compressed, and then your abdominal organs are going to be pushed down into the wrong place. They're going to get all tangled up. So wherever there's stress somewhere else, there's going to be a result in another place. So if your bra is tight, you're going to be pushing down on something else. All right. And the thong underwear, anything that is that close to touching your anus, or your perineum, is going to be unconsciously tightening those muscles down there. And you have unconscious tightening in your muscles, then you're going to have trouble getting it to do what you want it to do when you want to do it. All right. So I spoke to you before that in my journey, I realized that some of the exercises I was doing was making things worse. I would go running for a long time. I would do all these running and races, and I would have like diarrhea in the middle of the race, or I would do hot yoga classes and like the straight linear alignment, and then I realized that if I did it in the morning, I couldn't poop that day. And or going to a Pilates class, doing a bunch of crunches, and just my everyday posture was just like hunched over, head forward. Okay, and this is the old way. This is what got me in the place that I was in the first place. Do I ever do the old style yoga anymore? Yeah, I do. I try to use a Bowspring alignment in it, and even when I do, sometimes I still suffer afterwards. Do I still go running? Yeah, I do, but I run with a spring, and still I have to be very aware. Is this feeling heavy on my pelvic floor? Is it feeling taxing to my abdominal organs? And the new way, it's a new postural choice, is Bowspring. If you haven't heard of Bowspring before, it's a posture and movement paradigm that can be utilized to balance your myofascial tone in your everyday life and in your own practice here. So what I do for a living is I help people access their strength and flexibility and balance their muscles and their tone. This is a guy, he's He said he's never sat this way since a little boy. And he's had this huge smile on his face. And it was just so bright. This is from Austria, and he teaches Bowspring as well. And he's demonstrating vacuuming the floor in a regular posture, and that looks like anything anybody would do. And then vacuuming it with the Bowspring. So he's using his posterior chain. He's got his ribs full and his head back. And it turns into a gliding movement. Every movement in your life becomes active and healthy. And it's not pressuring your pelvic floor and straining your abdominal muscles when you've got this open position too. So Bowspring is something you can do in your everyday life. It's also something you can do in a practice in a class. It's very therapeutic for people. Hey, Abby here, and this is Abby in the picture right over here. Thank you, Abby. So when the first time I heard Bowspring, Airbnb guest came to stay with me, and I told her I was a yoga teacher, and we were talking pelvic floor because she was a yoga teacher too, and she's like, "Have you ever heard of Bowspring?" And she told me about it, and I was like, "That couldn't be true. In fact, I know that's wrong, because my pelvic floor physical therapist told me not to arrange my pelvis that way. And also I learned that in yoga teacher training." And she's like, "Well, it's not for everybody. You can go look it up." So I looked it up, and it was compelling enough for me to attempt the posture the next day at work. I worked with kids. And that night when I came home, I was cooking my dinner, and typically I would lean on my counter while I was cooking because my back hurt so much and I was just so tired. I felt this lightness and an openness, and I felt something so unique. It was the absence of a low back pain and a pelvic floor heaviness. And that was when I knew there's something to this, and I need to discover this further because this was real and this is true. All right, so let's stand up here. Let's get to feeling the Bowspring. So what I got here is a picture of a guy, and what I really want to stress today is the openness of the central channel. So you can see the central channel is represented in blue here. Your central channel starts above the crown of your head, and it exits below the pelvic floor. This is an energetic channel, and you want it to be open. So a lot of other yoga and Pilates and other movement techniques, they tell you to tighten your pelvic floor, to squeeze your abdomen, and to push your head, to squeeze your chin down. We don't do that in the Bowspring. We want there to be open lightness. And this is one of the reasons why it helps heal my core and my pelvic floor, is because of the openness in the central channel. And I wonder, could I get a volunteer? Samantha. And so we can, why don't you stand right here so these people can see you. Why don't you come right here, okay, and we'll have you, all right. So Sammy, stand, and everybody else, bring your body weight to your paws. So the front part of your feet. And establish radiant ribs. So imagine your rib cage are broad, they're extending in all directions. Bend your knees a little bit and let your hips tilt forward. Sammy, can you turn profile so that they can see it? Yeah. So there is an inward curve of the low back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So your butt does stick out in the Bowspring. Yeah. Ribs are tall. Head is tall and back. Yeah. And there's a gentle tone in the arms. You might want to move around a little bit, feel a little bouncy. Yeah, good. There you go. And that's the Bowspring stance. Now reach your arms up and forward, please, Sam. And we're going to reach them a little bit higher. Yeah, and then sit your butt back a little bit more. So it's a stretching of the belly. There you go. And at the same time, think about your central channels, that place from the crown to the And thinking about it as a word that is open free. Good. Reach a little bit to the right, reaching for an apple. And then reach a little to the left. And this is where you go. Beautiful. Yeah. Make sure you're in part of your feet, knee bent, and your butt is sticking out back behind you. So you've got these creases in the groin. Stick your butt out. You bend your knees. Bend your knees. Yeah, lift your tail. Yeah, do a wave. Yeah, there you go. And then reach up like you're stretching your whole rib cage. You're stretching your low belly. So it might feel weird because you're opening up areas of the body. Good. All right. Now, Sam, please bring your hands to the sides of your head. Ecstasy arms. Yeah. So ecstasy arms has the hands to the side of the head. The elbows are narrow. Elbows narrow, 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 like you want to touch your elbows to your nose. Yeah, there you go. Keep your central channel open. Inhale up and then exhale crescent to the right. And this is going to open up that area of the descending colon. Yeah, keep long in both sides of the waist and find a little pulse here, expanding the whole left side ribs. Beautiful, staying long and soft. If you feel this is too much, it is too much. And then come back to a little easier position. And then we'll inhale up and exhale crescent other way. Staying long on both sides. And this is a pure crescent, not twisting at all. Good, getting big right side ribs. Staying soft through that central channel. Beautiful. Come on back up. If it's too much, it's too much. Everybody's at a different place. Everybody's at a different starting place, right? Let's see, we sway a little bit. Palate cleanser. Good. And now let's come to the floor, please. Sam, do you want to come to the floor, yes? And I'm going to turn the camera down so y'all can see. Come to the floor and come to an all fours position. So a hands and knees position. All right. All right. You can just have a seat in your chair and envision this. If you have, all right. Yeah. And there's always a place for you. We can work together individually and get you to where you want to be. I promise. Anybody can do Bowspring. Everybody's at a different level though. Good. So she's got her hips back and her tailbone lifted. She's got the rib cage full, expanding vertically. She's big and mounded between the shoulders, not collapsed there. And head is up and back. Do some pulses, Sam, back and forth. Yeah. And she's only back so far that she does tuck her tailbone. And this adds, this movement. And it's like you're using your hands and arms to pull the ribs forward. She's using her legs and hips to pull the hips back. And as a result, the waistline gets tapered and lengthened. It's like a Chinese finger trap. The waistline gets longer. However, stay soft all the way through. All right, Sam, why don't you ice pick your hands to the floor and come to your forearms. Good, so this one's a little bit deeper. She's still keeping her ribs tall. She's using her elbows now to pull her ribs and head up and forward. And she's using her legs and hips to pull her hips back. Good, bring your elbows to the floor, Desiree. Yeah, there you go. And now find a pulse that makes your waistline like a Chinese finger trap. Yeah, there you go. So we're lengthening the belly as we're softening it too. And it doesn't look like much, but it feels like a lot. Everyone in here say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. Good. Thank you, Sam. Can you come into the side bow pose now? So facing either way you want to.
On my feet.
Yeah, just come to lying down on your side.
Oh, I got you. I didn't do it as gracefully as Sammy would have.
That's fine. Yeah. Good. So one of my favorite exercises for relieving gas is to lie on the side, and especially the right side. And she's on her right side right now. So lying down, and we call this side bow. So her legs are stacked, her ankles are stacked, and her hips are behind the ribs. So she's got an inward curve of the low back. And this is something you can do when you're lying in your bed, when you're lying on the floor. And try to make your waistline long, all right? There you go, Debbie, that's better. Good, waistline long, head back, good. And when you're here, get yourself into such a relaxed state that you can allow. Why do you think you wake up in the morning and your bloating is gone? Because when you were sleeping, you relaxed yourself enough to pass the gas. All right. Good. And then, Sammy, can you roll onto your belly, please? And all of you can roll onto your belly. And bend your knees, please. Good. This one is probably one of my favorite methods for relieving gas. And I actually tried this one in the bathtub. So there's something about the water that puts the pressure and the pressure of gravity, the gas is lighter than the water. So when you're on your belly in the bathtub, and I know this only works if you have a bathtub big enough, that the water is heavier than the gas. The gas will travel up the highest point. So try to let your butt float in the bathtub. The butt goes higher, you can press your knees down. Yeah, and then the gas will come up easily. You can wiggle around a little bit. And in Bowspring, this is called tummy time. You can do it like Sam's doing it here, or you can do it with your elbows lifted up. Or she came to Rosebud hand. She put up her forehead on a fist. If you want to do it a little bit more extreme, I'm not going to ask Sammy to do this, but you can walk your elbows and then lift your full ribs up. Yeah, that's a good modification. Yeah. Pushing the knees down. Yeah. Keeping the low back soft and the glutes engaged. And if it feels like too much, it probably is. Talk to me, and everybody's different. We'll work on it together. Bowspring is available for everybody at every level. I used to do it with my grandpa, who was paralyzed in the nursing home. I'll never forget the old sigh of relief when I propped him up in the Bowspring, because they had him sitting hunched in the C curve in his wheelchair. I propped him up in the Bowspring, and he's like, oh. And a lot of times if you go to a Bowspring class, you'll hear that sound as well. Just a beautiful, beautiful sigh. All right. And that's all, Samantha. Thank you very much. All right. And I want to, I'll come back to me. Thank you all. And my last, and probably the best, when I just can't get the gas out, the very best one, very best yoga pose that I could do, the number one way is to do a handstand. And I realize it's not available for everybody. And, but you never know. I've worked with people who have told me that they have never and will never do a handstand. And we have got them into a handstand using the wall. If you can't do a handstand using the wall, talk to me and we'll get you to a place where maybe you can. If that's still not available for you, you can lay on the bed on your belly and then walk your torso to the floor. So you're putting your forearms on the floor or your hands on the floor. So you're putting yourself in the same position, and it's the gravity is what is going to do it for you. Oh, and I forgot one position, which is legs up the wall pose. So you lay down in front of a wall and you put your legs up on the wall. And you can also do it with your legs on a chair. That's one that I did for years after I ate to help me relax and move things along. Same here. All right, we have some time for question and answers. Question and answers, anyone? What about you guys online?
Samantha, could you explain this is Betty. How are you? This has been fabulous. Thank you so much. Could you please explain the with the chair, legs, wall thing? Would you explain that a little bit, what that looks like?
I'll do it for y'all. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show this to y'all, and this is really soothing. I'll show it to you with a chair. So with the chair, it might be a little bit easier to get into. You can do it with your bag. So Come to the floor next to the chair. Can you see me, Betty?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
And it's as simple as this.
And that's all you do?
Yeah, that's all you do. Just sit there for 10, 15 minutes. And I recommend doing it, after you eat or when you're feeling. And this is also a good time to do your abdominal massage. If you, a little bit more intense is if instead of a chair, you're right next to a wall and you can put your legs up on the wall. It does require a little bit more openness in the hamstrings. Does that make sense? Okay, so we talked about a lot of things, talked about your underwear, we talked about when to eat, talked about Bowspring.
You want to tell us when you hear it for us in Indy and for maybe others who are not through Zoom, where do you conduct a Zoom class or workshop that we might come to?
Oh, excellent question. I work with people individually and I do most of my work through Zoom. So I've worked with people as far away as Australia. I verbally cue them and it's not as hard as you think. Raise your hand in this room if you've done it before. Yep, 4 people in this room have done it before. And Joy is online and she says it's amazing. So it's not as hard as you think. I've learned to use words that enable my clients to really feel like I'm in the room with them. I'll say, imagine that my hand is on your head and and that you're lifting up and pressing up into a resistance. So that's what I do. I do have one in-person group class per week. It's at a climbing gym. It's a pretty athletic crew that goes there, and there's an 8-person limit in that class. So that's the only place in Indiana that you can get a private Bowspring instruction. I do occasionally have clients come into my home studio individually. Sammy.
Something I found unique to Bowspring is that you don't have to be doing Bowspring to do Bowspring. When you're lifting weights, that's all you can do. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna do a lot of those poses in your everyday life. So we saw the gentleman in the picture. What are some other things that you can do in your everyday life that actually engages Bowspring alignment that can start to help you beyond just the 20 minutes to an hour that you're spending on Bowspring classes specifically? If that makes sense.
Oh yes, good question.
Can I tag on to hers and just specifically add some that I would like to know, like doing the dishes or even driving, because I know I'm always hunched doing everything.
All
It's such a
right.
great question.
All right. Yes. Oh, it's a question I love to talk about. You can do the Bowspring in your everyday life. You can even set yourself up in the Bowspring when you're sleeping. My friend Christian, he does it when he's vacuuming, and I love mopping with the Bowspring. It's a waist whittler. People in the Bowspring have a Bowspring silhouette. It's a narrowed waist. It's a strong glutes and strong posterior chain. And when I'm mopping in the Bowspring, is one of my favorite things in the world. I found that driving, especially lately, I'm using it more, so I push my head into the headrest to get a resistance and also feel a tone in the back of my neck, which there is almost no times in our everyday life where we can exercise those muscles in the back of our neck. So take advantage of the ones you can. So if you don't have a headrest in your car, maybe move it up to a place where you can push it in. So I sit down in the car, and instead of pushing my hands down into the seat to push my hips back, now I push my head into the headrest and then scoop my butt back. So I'm giving myself that neck exercise, and I'm giving myself the pelvic tilt. Oh, it's great. I feel like an animal doing it. It's like a natural alignment. The Bowspring is a natural alignment. Animals do it. And we did it when we were kids too. A lot of this is just a relearning versus an unlearning of what we're doing now, and it's a relearning. and coming back to nature. Let me think. Okay, unloading the dishwasher. And so we put the word on that. It's Japanese for way of doing. So unloading dishwasher kata. I'll get into the bowspring stance. I'll take it down so y'all can see. Unloading the dishwasher kata. So I would unload the dishwasher, keep the belly long. And you can't see me, but I'm trying to keep my head back too. And when you're living like this, you don't really have to do a lot of, your bowspring practice doesn't have to be intensive. 20 minutes a day, or maybe an hour a week. And I have had clients who don't do any bowspring at all, except for our hour together. The rest of their week, they just live the bowspring and they're still reaping the benefits. You can set up your computer so that the computer is so that your sight of vision is at the eye level. So my computer right now is not very bowspring friendly. It's down here. So if I want it bowspring friendly, I'll have the screen at eye level so that I don't have to look down. When you're looking at your phone, instead of looking down like this, text like this. So everyday modifications. So sometimes I cheat and I hold it down, but I just look down with my eyes. In the kitchen, it gets a little bit harder because you will get into that. Desi Springer, the originator of Bowspring, she said that she made a soup the other day in a squat the whole time because she didn't want to bend her head down. She says, I've had enough head down in my life. I'm going to exercise something else. Washing the face kata is one that it took me a while to get used to. So when I wash my face, I get into a wide-legged stance, hips back, belly long. So your pubic bone is back and forward or back behind you. Washing the face, into the paw of your feet, and then you come up. Yeah, and it does take more strength. I mean, you can't just say, I'm going to do bowspring all day long. You're not going to be able to do it. It's a gradual change. I spend probably 80% of my day in the bowspring now. When I first started, it was probably just like 10%, and maybe for you, it'll be 3%. But now when I do go out of the bowspring posture, it's my choice. It's a conscious choice. Whereas before I had to be a choice to go into the bowspring. So it does become more familiar with you.
So I have lower back disc deterioration and I don't do shots. When it was first diagnosed several years ago, of course, the orthodox wanted to do shots. And I think I might've tried one or two. I thought, this is crazy. I'm not spending my life doing this. And so I do one particular yoga stretch that I think has been helpful, effective but is bowspring good for lower back disc issues?
Oh yes, it's amazing for it. It separates the vertebrae from each other, so it allows the regeneration of new tissue. It's healing for the low back. Raise your hand in this room if bowspring has helped your low back. Anybody? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And does it also do that for your cervical
Oh, the
spine?
cervical spine as well. So in bowspring, we see the low back and the neck as equivalent. We call them our spools. So those are the areas where everybody is aching and sore, their low back and their neck. So the bowspring addresses that and really provides relief and resilience. Any other?
I had a question, and I'm sorry if someone asked this when I stepped out. Earlier you showed on the old poses or old ways was the person like doing some crunches, and I don't know if you're familiar with Pure Barre, but there are a lot of movements like that that are very Pilates centric, and I've been doing that for over 8 years now weekly. So not good.
The Pure Barre stuff is probably the opposite of what we're doing in the bowspring. So instead of shortening the abdomen, In the
Okay.
bowspring, we never shorten the abdomen. We always lengthen it. And as a way of lengthening it, we soften the central channel. So we're letting everything move naturally. And we're balancing the myofascial tone of the commonly unused skeletal muscle and fascia. In those classes you do where you're doing all those crunches and curls, that's for us to get the six pack, and it's just exercising the surface muscles, which is not
I must
necessarily.
do a lot of movements that are actually, they're saying it feels like it's more core related, but there are those other crunches as well. So I just wonder.
I've never been to a pure
Am I
barre
hurting
class.
myself
If
or
it,
causing more of the problem. I'm escalating my problem.
yeah, sometimes I'll go to a class these days, and sometimes I'll try some of the old style and with a Bowspring engagement or a Bowspring mindfulness, and I can be all good. And sometimes they'll give me a pose, and I'll just know right away. No, I'm not gonna do that one. Because if I feel like my pelvic floor is coming out of my body, I won't do it. If I feel that my guts are coming out through that central line, I won't do it.
Probably realize doing it the old way, so uncomfortable it is.
It's uncomfortable, yeah, and I feel the uncomfort for days.
I've been doing that for years, jeez. You know.
Mhm. That's what got me where I was. Because I was not one who didn't exercise. I exercised. That is a strong contributing factor to my problems before. Anybody else?
Sam, there's also, in addition, the way you were frozen for us here are Zooming. We can still hear you though. You just froze, but then there's just, I attended this because of digestion and gut issues, but also then there's just a plain old belly fat. I wanted to get rid of that. And one of the things they do recommend are the crunches and the planks. And now I'm understanding from this to avoid the crunches because it's going to hurt the digestive, and that can be a very serious problem. Are planks still, though, you think okay? Is that in alignment with, aside from just the GI issues, for just the belly fat, are planks, you think okay?
Very good question. And yes, there's a plank that I do in the Bowspring alignment that leaves that central channel open. And it feels so much better in my body. I'm using the posterior chain. So you pick up your glutes along the way, and it's getting deep core muscles. It's the Bowspring plank, and there's also a Bowspring side plank. So it's adaptable, and it's not, so in a regular plank, what's going on is you're squeezing the front of the body, you're tucking your tailbone. There's a lot of quad action going on. So basically it's a lot of front body stuff going on, not a lot going on in the back. And Bowspring, we're looking for everything going on at the same time. And that's how we get that balance. I wonder if I can make myself not frozen. Or at least that's a good picture of me frozen, huh? No, it doesn't say anything at all. Can you all still see me?
No, the first speaker, I can't remember his name now, he remained frozen until you switched over and took over, and then it got unfrozen. Now there you, okay, you went to video, now you're unfrozen again.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone have any more questions? Yay.
This is great.
Because you all came here today and you're all brave and you're going to out yourself on having these issues, I really commend you for trying something new and opening yourself to learn about some what might be seen as kind of radical things, Ayurveda and these Bowspring and massage techniques. I have opened up some spaces in my calendar to do a free session with any new client. So if you're virtual, send me a message. We'll set up a time for that. We'll do a free video consultation. I'll give you some feedback on what I can see over video that I think might be a trigger area for you. And I'll listen to what's been going on and give you some feedback on that. If you're here today and you want that, I've got a sign-up sheet as well. And if you want to get one of those Kitchery bags, there's plenty back there. Online people, let me know if you want a Kitchery bag. We can probably set that up too. Thank you all for watching. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Bye, Joy.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how cold it will be in this space.
Yeah.
I've never been here.
Thank you, Betty.
She had a space of.
And I forgot that remark.